The ocean was calm that night, but inside the command center, tension filled the air like static. The Navy's most elite team, the SEALs, had gone silent during a classified operation deep in hostile waters. Hours turned into a day, and when the final transmission came through, it was just 3 broken words. Mission compromised. Out. The Navy declared the mission a failure. The team was presumed lost. Families were notified. Case closed, at least. That's what everyone thought. But weeks later, whispers began spreading through the ranks about something impossible. A lone survivor. Someone who had vanished long before the mission even began. Her name was Lieutenant Rebecca Hale, once one of the few women to ever wear the SEAL Trident. She'd been stripped of her badge 2 years earlier after a controversial decision on a failed rescue mission. To most, she was a ghost from the Navy's past, a reminder of what went wrong when rules were bent. But to a few who really knew her, Rebecca wasn't someone who gave up easily. When the Navy's satellite picked up an encrypted signal near the crash zone, one using an outdated SEAL frequency, there was disbelief. No one could explain how that signal existed. The coordinates pointed straight to the region declared off-limits after the failed mission. Command dismissed it as interference. But deep down, one officer couldn't shake the feeling that it was her. Rebecca Hale. No one knew why she would return. Redemption, revenge, or something far bigger than anyone imagined. The truth was buried under layers of secrecy, and the Navy wasn't ready to uncover it. But Rebecca's story wasn't over. Somewhere beyond those dark waters, a lone figure was moving through enemy lines with a purpose. One last mission she didn't need. Permission to complete as the world moved on from the failure. She was rewriting the ending herself. The same woman once cast out by the system was now the only one who could expose the truth behind the mission everyone had given up on. And when her signal finally broke through again, the words she spoke left the entire Navy speechless. This mission isn't over. 2 years before that haunting message, Rebecca Hale had been the pride of her unit, fearless, disciplined, and respected by every SEAL she trained beside. She had earned her Trident through pain and persistence, fighting harder than anyone expected her to. But everything changed during Operation Blue Vortex, a rescue mission gone wrong. Under heavy pressure and split-second decisions, she chose to save a civilian hostage instead of following a direct order. The team made it out alive, but the operation's objective failed. Command needed someone to blame. And Rebecca's badge was taken from her the next morning. She disappeared quietly, leaving the Navy behind and vanishing into civilian life. Some said she was broken. Others believed she was simply done fighting battles she couldn't win. But inside, Rebecca never stopped replaying that night. The choices, the mistakes, the faces she couldn't save. The guilt haunted her, even more than the loss of her title. When the latest SEAL mission went dark, something inside her shifted. She recognized the pattern in the reports, the coordinates, the coded language. It was too familiar to ignore. Someone was using the same operational routes she'd designed years ago, routes only a handful of people even knew existed. That's when she realized it wasn't just another failed mission. It was connected to her past. Rebecca began gathering intel quietly, working off old contacts who still trusted her. Every clue pointed to a shadow operation, one that had been erased from official records. Someone inside the system was hiding the truth. And now, standing in front of a flickering screen with the recovered signal repeating over and over. Rebecca knew this wasn't a coincidence. The voice in the transmission wasn't random. It was calling for her. The question was, who wanted her back in the fight, and why now? Rebecca stared at the glowing screen, her heartbeat echoing in the quiet of her small coastal cabin. The signal pulsed faintly, a pattern only she could recognize. It was the old SEAL distress code, one she had designed during her active years. No one outside her former unit should have known it. That meant someone from her past was out there, alive, and they were reaching out to her. Her mind raced back to her old team, men she trusted with her life. They had trained together, fought together, and bled together. When she lost her badge, most of them cut contact, forced to choose loyalty to the uniform over friendship. But there was one who never stopped believing in her commander. Ryan Cross. He was the one who had gone missing in the failed operation. If anyone could survive the impossible, it was him. Rebecca opened her dusty locker and pulled out a small metal box, its hinges stiff from years of neglect. Inside lay her old gear, a watch synced to encrypted Navy channels, a worn photo of her team, and a folded note with coordinates scribbled in Ryan's handwriting. She had kept it all. Unable to let go, she began cross-checking the coordinates from the transmission with her old mission files. The results made her blood run cold. They matched the exact area of a covert testing facility that was shut down years ago. Officially, it never existed. Unofficially, it was rumored to be the center of an unauthorized weapons program. Someone had revived that operation. And now, one of her own was trapped there. Rebecca didn't know whether this was a rescue, a setup, or something even darker. But one thing was clear. She couldn't walk away this time. The mission had found her again. Rebecca's boat cut through the dark water, silent except for the low hum of the engine. Every mile she moved closer to the coordinates. The tension inside her grew heavier. The moonlight shimmered faintly over the waves, revealing nothing but emptiness. No patrols, no ships, just endless black sea. Still, she could feel it. That old instinct whispering that she wasn't alone. Her headset crackled suddenly. A faint voice came through, distorted and weak. Echo 7. Is that you? It was a voice she hadn't heard in years. Ryan, for a second, Rebecca froze. She wanted to answer, but training kept her quiet. She scanned her radar. Nothing. Yet the signal was there, pulsing stronger now. She adjusted the frequency and heard the words that sent a chill down her spine. They know you're coming. She killed the engine and drifted, her eyes darting across the horizon. Somewhere ahead, a faint light blinked twice, then vanished. It was a code, the same one her unit used to signal safe approach. But Rebecca knew better. It was too perfect, too rehearsed. Someone wanted her to follow it, pulling her gear close. She slipped into the cold water, letting the waves swallow her as she swam toward the rocky shore. Every sound felt amplified, her heartbeat, her breathing, the faint metallic click of something moving nearby. When she reached land, she crawled up onto the wet sand and froze. In the distance stood the silhouette of a structure an old naval outpost she once trained in, long abandoned. Or so she thought. Faint shadows moved inside, voices, armed men. And at the center of it all, a signal tower pulsing the same code she had followed. Someone had lured her here deliberately. Rebecca tightened her grip on her weapon, her breath steadying as the truth began to form in her mind. This wasn't a rescue. It was a trap. Rebecca crouched low behind a cluster of rocks, her eyes fixed on the dimly lit outpost ahead. The sound of boots echoed faintly against metal floors, the rhythm too organized for a random patrol. Whoever was inside wasn't scavenging. They were waiting. She scanned through her thermal scope and froze. There were at least 6 armed men, but something else caught her attention. A figure standing in the center of the room. Kay, unarmed, restrained, and facing the radio tower. It was Ryan. For a brief second, her chest tightened with relief. He was alive. But something was wrong. His stance was too rigid, too calm for a captive. As she adjusted her focus, she saw it, a small earpiece in his ear and a faint red light blinking near his collar. He wasn't a hostage. He was part of it. The realization hit hard. All this time, she thought she was saving him. But maybe he had been the one leading her here. before she could react, her headset crackled again. "You're right on time, Lieutenant Hale." The voice was Ryan's, calm and cold. "I knew you couldn't resist unfinished business." Rebecca's pulse quickened. "What are you doing, Ryan? Who are these people?" She whispered, ducking as a spotlight swept across the shore. "You still don't see it," he replied. "The mission you think failed, it never did. It was reactivated, and you were the missing piece." Suddenly, the ground beneath her vibrated with a deep, mechanical hum. From the water behind her, the surface split open, revealing a massive steel platform rising slowly, its lights flickering to life. It wasn't an outpost at all. It was a hidden facility. Rebecca's breath caught as the truth began to unfold. This wasn't about rescue or revenge anymore. It was about something much larger. And she had just walked straight into the center of it. Rebecca stood frozen as the massive steel platform rose from the depths, the sound of machinery echoing through the night. The facility's lights flared to life, casting sharp reflections over the water. Now she understood this was no abandoned base. It was an active covert site, hidden under layers of false records, and Ryan was guarding it. She moved closer through the shadows until she reached a vantage point above the main deck. From there, she could see Ryan surrounded by a small team of armed operatives. He looked older, harder, a man who had carried secrets too long. When he spoke again through her headset, his voice held a strange calm. "This wasn't supposed to include you, Rebecca. You were meant to stay away." She finally stepped into view. "Then why send the signal?" she demanded. "Why drag me back into this?" Ryan turned slowly, locking eyes with her through the distance. "Because you're the only one who can destroy it," he said quietly. "The mission failed years ago, but the project didn't die. They rebuilt it and used our data to do it." Rebecca's pulse quickened as she realized what he meant. The operation that ended her career had been a cover-up. The failed mission, the false reports, even her dismissal, all part of a plan to bury the truth. Ryan hadn't betrayed her. He had brought her here to finish what they started. Explosions suddenly shook the deck as security forces rushed in. Alarms blared, and the tower's power surged dangerously. Ryan tossed her a small black drive, the data core. "Get it to the surface," he shouted. This is what they tried to hide. Rebecca grabbed it just as flames lit up the platform. The sea roared around her as the facility began to collapse. She dove into the water moments before it exploded behind her, the shockwave throwing her into darkness. When she finally surfaced, gasping, the night was silent again. The platform was gone, along with Ryan. She reached for the data drive, but it was missing. Floating beside her instead was a sealed Navy envelope marked with her name. Inside, a single note read, "Mission accomplished, but not by you." The next morning, the coastline was quiet. Pieces of metal washed ashore, the last remains of the hidden facility now buried beneath the waves. Rebecca sat by the edge of the sand, staring at the envelope in her hand. The note's message repeated in her mind, "Mission accomplished, but not by you." It felt like a final riddle, one only Ryan could leave behind. She had survived, but nothing felt like victory. The Navy quickly announced that the failed mission site had been neutralized in a classified recovery effort. No mention of the facility. No mention of Ryan. Just another line buried deep in official reports. Still, she knew the truth, and she suspected someone high above had wanted this outcome all along. When she turned the envelope over again, a faint imprint caught her eye, a second layer of ink. She held it up to the light and saw hidden coordinates faintly stamped inside. They led to a small island once used as a Navy research post. For a moment, she smiled. Ryan had left her a trail, one last piece of unfinished business. Rebecca stood, watching the horizon. The sun broke through the clouds, lighting the water where the platform once stood. The mission might have ended, But her story hadn't. Somewhere out there, answers waited about the project, the cover-up, and what really happened to Ryan Cross as she walked back toward her boat. She placed the envelope carefully inside her gear. The world would never know the full story, but she did. And that was enough. For the first time in years, she felt at peace. The Navy had called it failure, but in her heart, she knew the mission had finally found its truth. For more thrilling, emotional, and unforgettable stories, don't forget to subscribe, hit like, and share with friends who love powerful twists.